Wherever there are machines, there are parts held together, threads on nuts and bolts. The common screw thread has been so standardized that a nut made will accurately fit an axle thread cut in Michigan. There are several basic forms of screw threads. Each does a particular type of job. This is an Acme thread, often used for lead screws. This square thread is often used in lifting jacks. And the thread of a common bolt looks like this. Whether a thread transmits power with a continuous motion or holds two parts firmly together, it is cut to certain standards that the machinist follows when he cuts it on the lathe. There are four basic steps in cutting a thread on a lathe. Here they are in rapid once-over. First, the work is properly set up between the centers. An undercut is made at the end of the section to be threaded. Next, the threading tool is accurately ground to shape, and then the thread is cut and finished. The first three steps prepare the work for threading. They are important. Getting the machine ready is the first part of any job. It must be cleaned and oiled. The operator himself is ready, and he is safely dressed. Now he checks with his drawing. The drawing calls for a thread 1 inch long. The stock is 1 inch in diameter. The type is a National Fine Screw thread. By checking in the National Bureau of Standards handbook or any other machinist handbook, we find that a National Fine Screw thread on 1 inch stock is cut 14 threads to the inch. This is called the pitch of the screw. This distance from the crest of the thread to the root is called the depth of the thread. The flat at the crest and at the root are the same width in this thread. The angle between the sides of this thread is 60 degrees. With these points taken from the drawing and from the handbook, we are ready to take the next step. Clean the work center holes carefully and the lathe centers. Lubricate the tailstock center. Check the firmness of the work between centers. When it feels firm without binding, tighten the tailstock spindle clamp. Double check for binding or slack. A 1/4 inch parting tool is used to make the undercut. The undercut should be the same depth as the thread. It should be about 1/4 inch wide. We know the thread depth is 46 thousandths. The undercut is the same. With the parting tool just touching the work, set the cross feed index collar at 0. As the cut is made, check the feed of the tool. When 46 thousandths is reached on the index collar, the undercut is the proper depth. Back off the parting tool. Stop the lathe, then remove the tool. Next, the threading tool must be ground to exactly the same shape as the finished thread is to be cut. The grinding of a threading tool is of primary importance. First, grind the right face of the tool. Take light cuts. Press the tool lightly against the wheel. The end relief angle, heel clearance of the tool bit is about 3 degrees. The top of the tool bit is flat. The profile of the tool bit gives the thread its correct shape. Then check the tool in the thread gauge. It shows that the angle is correct, 60 degrees, that the nose is the right width, and that the cutting edges line up properly. Loosen the compound and move it to 30 degrees. This is the correct feed angle for cutting a 60-degree angle thread. After tightening the compound bolts, check the angle again. The next step is to align the tool to the work. Mount the tool lightly in the post so it can be moved. Place a white card under the work. Hold the center gauge tight to the work and level with the center line. Feed the tool into the notch of the gauge. Tap the tool holder to align the tool to the gauge. Check these steps in aligning the tool. First, the point of the tool should be level with the exact center line of the work. The tool shapes the thread at this point. The second check is horizontal alignment. Be sure the gauge is tight against the work and level with the center axis. The top flat of the tool must be level with the gauge. The third check is to align the cutting edges of the tool in the center gauge. If the top flat isn't level with the center axis, or if the tool is not ground to the proper angle, light will show between the gauge and the tool's cutting edges. Properly ground and aligned, the tool will cut a thread having an angle of 60 degrees. It is easy to make a slight error in grinding a tool freehand. If the tool won't line up in the center gauge, dress it lightly on the fine wheel. Remount the tool lightly. Align it to the center gauge. If the tool is right, tighten down the tool post screw. Check again for alignment. If the tool fits in the notch, it is properly set. Move in the tool until it just touches the work. Now set the cross feed stop. The cross feed can be used to back the tool away from the work. The stop allows running the cross slide in to exactly the same position it held before it was backed off. To adjust the lathe for cutting, first put the feed lever in neutral. Second, select the spindle speed. In cutting a thread, it's better to operate at a low spindle speed. Check the position of the slide gear and set it. The screw is to be cut 14 threads to the inch. Find this number on the index chart and engage the tumbler lever. Find the setting of the top lever and engage it. Engage the lead screw slide. The lathe will now cut 14 threads to the inch. Run the carriage over to starting position 1/4 inch beyond the right end of work. Bring the cross feed against stop. The tool is fed to the work with the compound feed screw. The first cut should be light. Move the compound in 2 or 3 thousandths of an inch. Chalk the amount of this cut on the tailstock. The lathe is started. The operator pays close attention to the threading dial. The threading dial is turned by a worm gear which is connected to the lead screw. On this lathe, when cutting even number threads such as 14, engage the threading lever when any line on the dial face crosses the index. The threading dial is a device which tells the operator when to engage the threading lever. Engage the lever only when a dial line crosses the index, and the tool will always enter the work at exactly the same place. This is step number 4, the actual cutting of the thread. Watch the work when the tool enters the undercut. Release the threading lever and run out the cross slide. These two motions are performed at the same time. Let's repeat it in slow motion. The tool enters the undercut. Then in one motion, the threading lever is released and the cross slide run out. With the tool out of the way, stop the lathe and run the carriage back to 1/4 inch beyond the right end of the work to take care of backlash and slack. Check the work carefully. The threads are clean. The thread pitch gauge shows the pitch is correct. Keep the lathe clean. Check the lubrication of the tail center. Check tightness of the work. Now, for the deeper cuts, coat the work with cutting oil. The cross feed is turned into the stop again. Then the compound is fed in an additional 5 thousandths for the second cut. Several such cuts will be made, and each cut is chalked up on the tailstock. Watch the threading dial. When the proper graduation crosses the index line, engage the threading lever. Notice the skill in this operation. The tightness of the work is checked, and more cutting oil is applied. Another cut, another chalk mark. Repeat the procedure of taking cuts until the thread begins to take on a finished appearance. Nine cuts have been made. The groove is about deep enough. It is time now to plan the finishing cuts. The first step is measuring the pitch diameter. This is done with a special thread micrometer. Calculation shows that the thread is not deep enough by 3/1000ths of an inch. To make the final cut, the compound is moved in for a 3/1000ths cut. Apply cutting oil to the work and make the cut. Be sure to engage the threading lever with the proper thread dial timing. At the end of the cut, check again with the thread micrometer. The micrometer shows the operator that the thread must be deepened another 1/1000th of an inch. This 1/1000th of an inch oversize was caused by the spring and give in the tool and work. To remove this final 1/1000th, the cut is repeated with the identical setting used for the previous cut. The tool will still remove the excess metal. This resulting fine cut is excellent for finishing. A final check is made. The thread is to size. And a thread pitch gauge shows that the threads are uniform and are the required 14 per inch. From start to finish, the job has been carefully planned and carried through to completion by a skilled operator of the lathe. Another piece works, ready to become a part of the machine.